Ms. Turner is in a meeting with Mrs. Curtis, so she'll be joining us in a little bit. But we're gonna look at our SLO, our student learning objective data today. So we gave the baseline either last week or this week, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so Browning, when did you give your SLO baseline?
Friday,
Friday?
on the 2nd.
Okay, and then where, like, if you don't mind me asking the question, like, where did you get your question from?
We've been working on these word problems. It's one I actually wrote.
Okay, so what was the expectation as far as like, cause you and I had chatted a little bit about, you were kind of excited about what had happened.
So,
So what, like, if I'm a student, what's my expectation with this word problem, I guess is what I'm trying to
okay,
say.
so we have been working with word problems and problem solving strategies. So I had it posted, like, the problem solving strategy. So, read the problem at least twice, circle the question, underline the important information, and then use the mesh strategy. So
Okay.
that's what I was looking for, which kind of goes with this rubric as well.
So your kids had, and we had talked, some people were gonna introduce the problem solving plan beforehand and some weren't. So your kids had opportunities to practice it.
Oh yeah,
They were introduced to MESS. Okay, so then what you were hoping to see was the full-blown, here's my, right, like I have my problem.
Yeah, and it was even on the problem for me.
Okay, so you listed it out for your kids where they would actually write and fill in MESS. Okay. All right, and Ms. McHenry, what about you? When did you give your SLO?
Today.
Okay, and her kids had seen MESS, they had practiced it. Did your kids have that opportunity, or did you choose to just give it to them, just to get a flatline reading of where they are?
Right.
Your kids did have the opportunity last year in 3rd grade of being shown this problem-solving strategy.
I asked them beforehand if they remembered
Okay,
the strategy. I didn't really produce it until we kind of went over a little bit of it after the original question.
okay,
So it was really just like a flatline, like, well, what
just to
strategy
see what
and-
prior background knowledge they actually have from coming up from 3rd grade. Okay, so majority of your kids finish, at least do we have a good starting point if we wanna start sorting? Okay, and then correct me if I'm wrong. You guys decided, like as a vertical team, that the rubric, and I put it up here on the board for you guys, but y'all were not going to expose the students to this rubric at the first baseline,
Right.
correct?
Correct.
Okay, so your students have not seen this.
Nope.
Hi, Ms. Turner, you're fine, come on in. We're actually we're going down the line, so you're next. We're talking about our SLO, and we gave the student learning objective question. And then just a little bit about whether we exposed our kids to the problem solving plan before, not, and then we'll have some time to sort our kiddos. Okay, so we were just talking that Ms. Browning and Ms. McKendry both said that they did not show the kids the problem solving rubric. Is that the same for you? Or did your kids actually see this rubric before attempting the question?
Nope, because I wanted to see what they knew before.
Okay, and that's great. So when did you give your SLO question?
On the 30th?
Okay, and did your kids have, so we had talked, just because you weren't here, I'll just kind of,
I'm sorry, yeah.
no, you're good. I just want you to know kind of what we're doing going down the line. So with Miss Browning, she had showed her question. Her kids have actually, her 3rd graders, have actually been practicing the problem solving plan, and it was actually listed out MESS for her kids. So she had very high expectations when it came to what was expected on this baseline. Ms. McKendry gave hers, however, she did not expose her students. She kind of briefly talked to them about it, but she did not give them like several opportunities to practice and whatnot, and we had talked about it was okay to go either way with it. So with your kids,
I did it in number of the day.
Okay.
So, but I started last Monday. And so I talked about this. I wrote 5 problems. So every day last week we did something with MESS.
okay, so your kids had a pretty good understanding when they led into this, to the SLO question as what you were expecting.
And then I also put it here for them.
Okay, just as a friendly reminder.
As a friendly reminder.
Okay.
Because we had talked about it, they had gone through it, I had gone through and
Mhm.
shown them what I expected,
Mm-hmm,
but this was more because of my virtual kids,
okay,
because not every virtual kid logs on.
sure,
And so that's kind of like on the bottom there.
okay. Can I, because this is actually really interesting that we have 3 different points here. So we have 4th grade who did not, your kids haven't been exposed to your modeling of the problem-solving plan. And then we have 3rd grade, I'm gonna reach across you, is that okay? I'm sorry. If I get too close in your like personal space over here, just.
No, you're fine, you're fine.
Let me know. Okay, so with Miss Browning, she wrote the letters for model equation, strategy, and then solution statement. And then Miss Turner actually put like the mess, what it is. So we have 3 different levels here. So this is gonna be interesting when we sort. I wanna see like number-wise, the kids that weren't exposed, the kids that were provided minimal scaffolding when doing the question, and then wouldn't you consider this like maximum scaffolding?
Yeah.
Okay, in which, honestly, there's not a problem with this, because if you were to have this up in your classroom like all year round, we train our kids like, where should you look, right? Like that's a reference point. And any of you who've ever taught in a star grade before know,
Yeah.
what happens when you take that poster down when it's star time?
They
And they're
remember.
sitting there. They still look up, right?
They look up and
And
they,
it activates something where they're like, oh, I remember what was written up there. So this isn't, I love that we have 3 different approaches to this, because I think it's really gonna be something for us to talk about in our data, like, do we want to do this kind of support for our kids? Do we wanna maybe break it down and just do, mess where we're giving them just the outline of the problem-solving plan? Or do we want to take it all the way back and just say, here's your rubric, the problem-solving plan, and judge their growth from there?
the reason I specifically did this intentionally, I have a lot of kids who have moved into this district
Who haven't been exposed to that before.
who have not been exposed to mess.
Okay.
And I found that out on Monday. I didn't even print this up until Tuesday night.
Okay.
I had to have this part done.
Uh-huh.
But Tuesday night, all of a sudden I went, well, wait a
Ooh,
minute.
I need that on there, yeah.
I need that on there because of our 32 that are here in person. 7 had no idea what mess was. So to me, that seemed like that could have skewed my data
Okay.
in the sense that I don't know what they're coming with. Some said cubes, some said, I don't know what they called it.
I knew we did a problem-solving plan, but I don't know what it was.
Right, so
That's
I
that's
wanted,
the interesting part, yeah.
I intentionally did that because I wanted to
I have something
see,
on there. Mm-hmm.
could they do this and would they do this even if it was here? Because some of them didn't even do it, but yet others,
Were able to.
they looked at it and they went, oh, this is what she wants.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's think about, because I know that we haven't necessarily pulled out the rubric yet. We haven't had those conferences with our kiddos, so I want to spend the next couple of minutes sorting. If we want to just sort high, medium, low for now, we can. I can also give you a pencil if we want to start talking about specific ones. And we will actually put well above typical, well below typical from the rubric. And this way you guys can talk about it, because is a kid who uses the visual that's given here, should they be ranked with 1 mistake as the same as a kid who made 1 mistake with absolutely no visual? So as a vertical team, this is where we need to come together and decide, moving forward, we want to be aligned on how are we going to give this SLO question for checkpoint 1, because we're all going to pull it from our district common assessment, yes?
Right.
That's what we decided, okay. So I love that we came this time. I really, really think this is great for our conversation with 3 different ideas of the support that you gave your kids. Because now as a vertical team, we can rank them on this rubric I will give you time to actually put them into your tracking sheet, for your SLO documentation. And then we can decide what is gonna be the expectation moving forward for the amount of support we're gonna give our kids doing the SLO checkpoints. Does that sound good? Okay, so right now, why don't we just start, we can start making piles. You can throw out a question. Hey, I've got this kid, I don't know where they fall on the rubric. You are welcome to pull up the rubric on your computer, but I have it up on the screen for us as well. Turner's got hers printed out.
Because I was gonna do one for each kid and mark it.
Perfect. And I will say that moving forward, when we do our actual checkpoints, a lot of times teachers in the past trying to just, save paper and whatnot, will shrink this down and put it like at the bottom of the question or on the back of the question. Because we really want to start having those conversations with the kiddos, okay? All right, so let's start talking actual students. Like if you have some, I know, Browning, you have yours already graded, right?
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about one of your kids that falls, let's talk about one that falls well below typical and one that falls below typical. Could you pull one of those for us, one of each? Just a below and a well below if you have it. Would you mind doing the same thing, Turner? If you have a below and a well below, can we pull those out and just kind of look at them side by side? That way we can look at what was the deciding factor between ranking them.
Well, I could tell you without pulling
Pulling it up. So what was your, if you had, like, let's just pick a class, like, one that fell well below, which would be no strategy at all, no way to solve the problem, that kind of thing. Can you pull out one of those examples? And then one that's a little bit better than that may have got the question wrong.
So, I can tell you my main deciding factor was step-by-step assistance.
Okay.
Like, had virtually no independence, and I found that it was my least better.
Okay.
Something that really fell here, that was my deciding factor.
This is so hard that we can't like throw these all out on the table together, I know, and talk about it, but, okay, so the fact that this one student needed, and when you say step-by-step directions, will you just talk to us a little bit about what that looks like?
And I know this student in particular, okay, what are we supposed to do first?
Okay,
And he'll like, circle the question, okay, what's important, what's it asking? And he gets a oral admin, so I will read
Right.
it, and then when it comes down to solving, okay, what are we gonna do first?
he still needed that.
Even when it comes to the strategy itself, okay, when we add, what do? We build all numbers, okay? What place value do, I literally hold his hand through every step of the way. And that was only 3 of my kids out of, and I'm tracking my 2 in-person classes.
Okay,
So, but within most of my kids fell in the below typical. And pretty much what separated them from typical was whether or not they got the correct answer. Because
Okay.
that's really the only way you're getting typical or above, if you get the right answer. But within the below typical, I had some that had the correct, equation, but the math was wrong.
okay, so the computation piece.
And then I had some, so I would say there were 3 levels to there. So, correct equation, but I did the math wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Semi-correct equation. So basically it was 378 minus 247 minus 53.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 378 plus 247 minus 53.
Gotcha, so wrong operation.
So, but only one, they would add 2 numbers and subtract the third. And then I had some that just was like, I'm gonna add all 3 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So even with my below, there were 3 different levels.
Gotcha. Okay, so could we, for 3rd grade, if we had a number for the ones that you're tracking, okay, for well below, how many fell in well below? It's okay. And Turner, you have yours ready to go as well? Well
So
below and below.
what do I do with her?
It's a good question, so we can talk about this as a group.
I don't know what to do with her. I don't know what to do with her on a daily basis.
Okay, well, what was the, tracking
What?
is gonna make what? How much growth? They're gonna move
At least two.
at least 2 on the rubric.
Right.
Okay, for the year. Okay. And then Turner, back to you. Okay, so she's saying, what do I do? What do I do about this one? So
It's a daily basis.
so we've
Really
got this
struggle.
5th grader who clearly, I mean, we picked a number and we just added, right? Bethany, did you wanna see this one? So she's pulling out, and Turner, will you tell us a little bit about what the process would have been for solving this problem? It's so much easier when I can just throw these out on the table and y'all can look at them.
The 5th grade problem was a computer lab session at school is 24 minutes long. On Monday, 313 students each complete a session. On Tuesday, 406 students complete a session. What is the total number of minutes that these students spent in the lab on Monday and Tuesday? So, they could have done it 2 different ways. They could have added the Monday and the Tuesday, some of my kids did that, and then multiplied it by 24. Others did 24 times 313, and then added 24 times 406.
So multiple steps either way.
Multiple
Whichever way
steps.
they went, it was good.
The thing is that the child that, Tara's holding her paper, on a daily basis, this child walks in, she puts her head down, throws her hair over her head, and does not participate. So,
But on what we're doing here,
but,
we have to remember, we're not ranking her own behavior on this
No.
rubric.
and that's the hard part, is because this is a daily behavior that we have. So we haven't broken through the behavior issue to have her, so part of me says, obviously she didn't put enough information down, so she's gonna be well below.
Right.
Well, and we talked, with all 3 of you having different approaches, you provided the most support
Yeah,
for your students as far as assistance with the problem solving plan.
right,
So with this kiddo who pulled out 2 numbers,
yep,
throws them down on the paper, and doesn't pull out any of the other information, let's go back to the rubric. Okay? If we're not, first of all, we don't have the right answer,
no,
okay? And then, so that takes us out of well above typical.
yeah, so that's below or
And
well
yep,
below.
so we're either at below typical or well below. Where are we gonna come in with prompts here? That's the thing. Were you able, or did you?
I did not, I
You
said
did not
nothing to
prompt
them,
her. Okay,
I did not prompt any of them, I handed it to them, we did 3 reads,
mhm.
and I said, you're on your own, I wanna see what you can do.
So,
And maybe I should
No,
have
no, no, this is good, this is why we need to talk
and
it
maybe
out.
I should have prompted her, but
But this was your baseline, and you decided that for all students, you were just gonna see where they
I
were.
just wanted to
Mhm.
see where they were.
Okay,
but whether or not you prompted her, part of the well below says the student is unable to identify
Mhm.
important information and is unable to select the appropriate operation.
Unable is that equal to unwilling?
okay,
What-
and that's where we fall, cause we're not grading,
I know
or we're not
behavior.
ranking behavior.
Right.
We have to stick to this, and even though we know, or at least we've seen, that she is capable, as far as this goes,
She's not.
as
She's
far
not.
as this goes, do we agree that we would rank her well below?
Yes,
Okay, so then moving forward, we might have to come up with some strategies to assist her in being able to model that out, right?
right.
But that's gonna be part of her moving up the rubric, is her willingness to do it, number 1, yes. But as of right now, just because we know she can do it, she didn't perform on this, so she would have to rank at well below typical, and then if she's one of yours that you're tracking, I think it would be very interesting to see what happens once we get some things in place.
Some behavior motivators to
Right.
get her to work, like putting that to see if she's, because there's several in here that on a daily basis, I would think it would be at least typical, but I gave a really challenging problem to start off, because
I did too.
that, I wanna know what you can pick out, because it does no good to have an easy problem, because I'm thinking at the level that they need to get to, that's what I wanna
Right.
see right now, because that's the way you can show growth, so that's why I chose the problem that I did.
I would agree with that, Brandon.
Right.
Alright, so as far as your well below and below go, Ms. Turner, how many fell well below in your, that you are tracking?
One, two, three, four.
Four of them? And then what about your students that just fell below typical that you're
Now-
gonna be tracking?
Now, I've got 5 online who haven't done it.
That's okay, cause we can, remember, this is a living document, so as kids move, it's very fluid. Kids can move in and out of this. So if your kid, let's say you've got a kiddo who gets to, they were at below typical, and they're at well above typical by Christmas, they need to come out of that group that you're tracking, right? Now, we do know that as the rigor increases with our problems and our standards, that sometimes we might have kids that are, hey, I'm really strong with my addition and multiplication and division, but once we hit fractions, they, so in that case, we may have a kid that we have to slide on and start tracking. So it is very fluid.
I have a question, I don't know where to put him, if he did the wrong operation.
I just did
Okay,